All right, finally, there we are. Welcome on in, guys. Welcome back to yet another TapDaddyBeats stream. I hope you guys are having a good Thursday. Man, I had a little bit of technical issues trying to get OBS to connect with YouTube for some reason. I just pushed enough buttons until it worked. Hell yeah. We are live. Mars, how's your day going, man? It's good to see you. Hell yeah. You're doing some updates on your computer. I hope those go much better than my OBS is going. We figured it out. But, guys, we got a good stream in store for you today. We got some good tracks to mix down. And I always like to start things off by letting you guys know what we're listening to. This is my newest release. It's called For All the Marbles. It's a good feel-good banger, man. I love this track. And not only that, I have an album coming out in 21 days, 8 hours, 51 minutes, and 55 seconds. Go check it out. It's called Nothing Is Real. You guys are probably going to hear a lot about this album in the coming weeks. What's up, Gene? What's up? How's it going, guys? I'm just gonna drop a link. If you have not pre-saved the album yet, go drop it a pre-save. Nothing Is Real drops September 3rd, I believe, or September 4th. Yeah, September 4th technically. Technically September 3rd at midnight. So anyways, that's enough of me yapping. We should probably dive in with the music. Let's just first get a good sip of coffee. Oh, yeah. Nectar of the gods. Let's go. Hell yeah. Oh, very good. But yes, I'm hoping to be super productive today. I got a lot of stuff I got to get done. I feel like I haven't had nearly as much time working in the studio as I'd like to. Just, working this dispensary job, but it's all good. It's been super fun. I'm gonna put the kibosh on this, and let's just get into Ableton. You guys will probably recognize this one from like 2 Saturdays ago, and we're gonna be mixing this one down for BeatStars, meaning that some of the mixing choices that we're gonna make today are with keeping in mind that we're gonna have an artist rhyming this track, right? So Let's put on our mixing caps and give this a first listen through. Let's check it out. So I was planning to make an intro for this track, but the more I listened to it, the more I decided, like, no, it's not a bad thing to just drop them in. Like, this is pretty fire. God. Yeah, that's a good vibe. Which mixes do you choose to do stems with? BeatStars? Yes. BeatStars. We might even stem something out later. There's a track that we mixed down a while ago that I think I need to do a V2 mix for. So we'll probably jump to that after this. And then I need to stem both of them tonight. So if we have more time, I might just like stem one of them on stream. We'll see. We'll see, man. I don't know. There's always stuff that needs to get done. But yeah, these I do both a dry and a wet version of the stems. So we're gonna really gussy this up. Get it fully mixed and mastered. And then when people are buying the beat, they'll get the unmastered version with both the dry and the wet stems. It'll be good. Yeah, he says, is BeatStars the only one you do stems with? Yes, correct. And it used to be that everything that I dropped on Spotify would make its way to BeatStars as well. But nowadays, we have since split our collections. And that's something kind of new. As in, like, we made that split maybe within the last 6 months. We just kind of decided that, like, the amount of risk that goes in, risk versus reward in terms of licensing the music that you're also, has your whole, your whole worth as an artist in, right? We decided like, what, we'll just separate the two. We'll just do Spotify releases and BeatStars releases, and every once in a blue moon we'll take something from BeatStars and bring it over into Spotify. But yeah, this one though, this one's for the rappers. We gotta mix this down. I think it's already sounding really great in terms of like rhymability. There's a nice amount of space in the center for an artist. It's more about, let's just dial this in, right? We just want to dial this in. Doesn't need to be perfect, right? I don't really think these BeatStars beats need to be like as mulled over as like my Spotify releases, right? But I do want them to sound spiffy and competitively clean. So let's jump back and let's kind of begin. I always like to start at the intro of a track. Let's consider the foundation of the track before we really move forward, meaning mostly like the drums and the bass and things like the piano. I think I don't even really want to touch the piano too much. We might do some EQ work on it, but we did have a little bit of mixing going on our on the drums. So you can see we did this in parallel here, where on one track we have this compressor, this 1176, and then we've got this reverb on the other side of that, but we also put that up against just the dry version of this, and we're kind of like side, doing parallel compression, so we can maybe play with the amount of we're fusing these two. We might like try bring that up. Feels pretty good. I will say, I think that we could add another layer of reverb after this. I was kind of thinking, like, do we have this fed into? Yeah, we do. A little bit on this return track, which has a reverb on it, right? So I'm kind of thinking we might even go a little bit heavier on that. Just a little bit. There we are. Hell yeah. Okay. Okay, so this is the tambourine. I like how it's like off on the right. It almost feels like it's reaching a little bit too far on the right. I kind of want to pull it just a little bit to the left. And we've also got this this like finger cymbal. And I feel like the tambourine and the finger cymbal might need to sit on opposite sides of each other in the mix. I don't know. Kind of having both of those grouped up on the right isn't like a bad thing, right? I'm just curious if we're going to have a more symmetrical feel if we like maybe swap the left and the right for this finger cymbal. Let's like try this out. We're going to do swap. Now it like kind of juts out because it's like one of the only things on the left. Let's try turning this down. I don't know though. Like, logically it's like, oh, we're going to spread this out and like make it even, right? With these like detail. But quite honestly, I feel like having this closer to where that tambourine is, it feels like, I don't know, sometimes keeping the percussion sections together, even when we are doing weird things like throwing it to the right, it's like, well, these feel like they belong together. We can turn this back up again. We're going to keep that, actually. It's a little against the grain of how I usually mix. I'm usually trying to spread things opposites. Similar, but opposite. And I put them in opposite ears, right? No, that just feels good. What do we want to be doing, though, in terms of, like, this sax melody and this guy? So this is like so far on the left. I'm kind of thinking maybe, and we do have this leaned a little bit to the right. Maybe we're going to lean it just a smidge more. Kind of keeping that center lane open for the artist, right? I kind of want to do a little bit of compression on this saxophone. Just kind of help it feel a little bit more vibrant, hopefully. We might even do this compression after the reverb, just to kind of gel it in with its reverb. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's like, it's just ever so slightly more vibrant, so... Let's turn this off and on. We'll kind of A/B test it. So off. On. It's very slight, but I kind of like it. I don't know, every once in a while, and I feel like this is something that you kind of fall into when you first recognize what compression sounds like, right? You're like, oh, that sounds nice. And I feel like what it really is that like we're simply just taking the floor and the ceiling and we're just kind of squishing these like a sponge. And sometimes when you squish it like that, it feels a little bit more vibrant, right? Having the floor brought up and the ceiling brought down, it just kind of squishes together. That sometimes can make something like, this little sax lick with its beautiful reverb, just feel a little extra vibrant. But I think what I see happen, and what was the case for me as I started to really understand and wrap my mind around compression, was that I started to try to pull vibrancy out of everything, right? And then I kind of ran into the other side of the spectrum where you start to like overly compress, and then suddenly it's like there's no room for stuff to breathe, right? It feels like all of the audio is an inch away from your face. And that's not a good place to be in either. It's more about like kind of understanding how much and when to pull out that compressor and give yourself that little bit of vibrancy, right? So, but yeah, I see Gene is saying for the tambourine, maybe adding a return track with a delay pan. See, that's kind of more like production, I would say, right? If we're changing how that tambourine sounds, I feel like that's more of a production decision, right? And I think today I'm satisfied with how the tracks like sounds. Now I'm just concerned with maybe, affecting how the track is balanced, right? Because I don't think we need to give that that finger cymbal anything to make it sound any more special. I think just kind of leveling it, setting it down in there just right so that it feels gelled with the rest of the track is kind of my objective right now. But let's listen through this, see kind of where we're at. We were going to touch this bass a little bit, I think. Yeah, so, and I'm not sure if I really want to compress this bass too much. I kind of like the fade on the bass, it's like if we compress it, it's going to basically lengthen that tail out. I don't necessarily think I want to do that. What I do think I want to play with, though, is a little bit of that oxide tape recorder. Sometimes we get some real interesting vibrancy in that low end by running it through this tape processor. Let's play with this a bit. Ooh. You can kind of feel how that just feels a little bit extra in that low end. There's a little bit more just like definition and stuff going on that low end. Here, I'll keep turning it off and then on and then off and then on. So we're starting off, on. Yeah. That feels rich. We'll see. I also like to include one of these on the master, and sometimes when we have it both on the bass itself and then we also do another layer of it on the master, sometimes that bass kind of gets out of control. We'll just kind of see where we're at with it. We always have the option to turn it off, but I like how this feels. There we go. What's up, Chocolate? How's it going, dude? He says, sup, boys? Sup, Tap? On my way back to the depot. Ah, hell yeah, man. You my soundtrack. Hell yeah, I'll play you out, man. This is we're playing Chocolate out after a long day. Hell yeah. Cheers, man. How was your day, man? How's things going? Ooh. Okay, this is something that could be a lot more wet. This like might even kind of clamp on some of the more mid-range of this. We could just increase the reverb on this guy. Oh, that actually is some very nice spacious reverb. I do like how this feels on here. There we go. There we go. Package is getting bigger and bigger. I'm sorry, man. No, I feel you. You know, I was just talking about doing a little bit, I was just describing how a little bit of compression can bring forth like vibrancy, right? And I'm thinking maybe one other instrument that might apply to is probably this plucked melody that we have going through most of the track here, this guy. Like, there's a lot of interesting vibrancy going on around that. If we kind of squeeze on it a little bit with an LA2A, I bet this might sound interesting. Let's just kind of pull this out. There we go. I kind of want this kick to kind of like punch up a little bit extra in that low end. Let's do a little bit of EQing on this. If we give it a nice boost down here in the low end. I like to do this a lot where I'll just give my kicks this like kind of silly boost. And it kind of helps it cut out over the top of that kick. They're both kind of battling for attention down here, but that's quite fine. We don't really want to It's like one of those cases where it's like additive can be kind of good. Because obviously we don't want to do anything subtractive to this bass down here where it's like on its main resonance, right? We want that to be strong. We just want to use our EQing and our gain staging to kind of make sure that that kick is punching out over the top of it. Might even do a little extra on this kick. That's not the right one. It's this guy. Yeah. There we go. And I don't know if we want to set it up too high. What we might have to do is just kind of tuck this bass down a little bit. There we go. Yeah. Gene says, to be honest, I never know when to use a compressor, multi-band compressor, or a limiter. Any advice? Yeah, so I think it's really just a matter of kind of knowing what each of these do, and then you can kind of use your imagination for how it might be useful to you, because you're going to find there's a lot of different circumstances in which a limiter might be the choice over a compressor, right? But in general, let's just kind of talk about what each of these things do, right? So first of all, a compressor is kind of like a sponge where we're squeezing it, right? We're trying to lift the floor of it. We're trying to bring down the ceiling, and we squeeze it together, and it really does kind of squish together. You can almost think about, if you really look at what the wave file looks like, right? What the sound wave is doing. It really is like we're just squeezing it from both ends in terms of how quiet it is and how loud it is, right? Now, in terms of a multi-band compressor, we're kind of slicing the EQ range into different ranges. We're saying the low end, the mid-range, and the high range. And then we're applying compression either, to each section specifically, So, it's like multi-band compressors might be kind of nice if you're trying to, like, let's say you've got a vocal and you're like, okay, honestly, I want to kind of, where the main resonance of the vocals are, I want to kind of clamp a little bit harder than I am on the highs, right? So you're like, okay, the highs we're going to allow to be dynamic. We're going to let the quiets be really quiet on the highs and the louds be really loud on the high parts. But that mid-range where the main vocal is, okay, that's where we need a little bit more hands-on control, right? So we're like, okay, multi-band compressor. Or now limiter is kind of interesting, right? In that unlike a compressor where we're using it, where it really is acting like a sponge, right? Where we're going to lift the bottom by this much and then lower the top by this much, and it's going to squeeze together like a sponge. Now imagine instead of a sponge, we have a brick, and you can only move this brick up and you can only chop off the top, right? Like, it's not going to squeeze in the same way that a compressor does, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, how do you see the wave file? Oh, I was really just talking about the sound wave. So, like, look at this sound wave, right? With the bigger amplitude means the louder it is. The smaller the amplitude, the quieter it is. So this is really quiet. This is really loud, right? And basically what a compressor does is the quiet stuff becomes thicker, the larger stuff becomes smaller, right? We're just kind of squeezing it like a sponge, right? When you're using a limiter, you're basically shifting around where you're saying the ceiling is, and you say, nope, you can't go any louder than this. And if you do go louder than this, then that's basically called clipping, right? And a limiter kind of allows us to determine how we wish to clip, whether we're using a soft clipper, right? Where it goes, let's say that our loudness, our ceiling is here, and we've got a sound wave that's trying to go break beyond it. A soft clipper is going to have a rounded edge as you head into that ceiling, and it flatlines and then comes back down. Okay, a hard clipper is going to be a little bit more of like a straight up, like it hits that ceiling and it really makes that T and just goes straight across and then comes down. And, raw clipping is kind of like hard clipping in that, it just is going to hit that ceiling and then flatline across. And that sometimes makes your drums feel more dull, right? But it also is a way of lowering how loud that ceiling is without getting that spongy effect, right? Without getting the compression effect, or at least you're trying to avoid that, right? So an instance where you might use a limiter is like, let's say that I have a max peak right now of minus 4.91, right? And let's just say that, man, it's really these drums that are causing me to hit that max peak. Maybe if I could decrease the ceiling of my drums by 2 decibels, my overall loudness of this master could start at a higher point than it currently does. It could start 2 decibels higher in loudness before I even have to pass it through a chain, right? And so that's where a lot of people will use limiters to kind of tame down their mix to get it even closer to the ceiling, right? To like that max peak value we're kind of shaving away at before we really start feeding it into our master chain, right? So it's like, oh, we're starting from a louder position. Our max peak value is like we're taming it down. We're taking all this stuff that is jutting out and we're saying, cutting it with the limiter. I hope that makes sense. I've really just went on a deep dive with you guys on like the differences between these sorts of things. In general though, like, yeah, I think just understanding in your mind that a compressor works like a sponge, right? Like you take any sound wave like this guy right here, these piano chords, and it's like you're just making the louder parts quieter, the quieter parts louder. We're squishing it together. We're taking this wave file right here, this sound wave, and we're just squishing it so that the loudest part is quieter and the quietest part starts louder, right? So, yeah. Anyways, let's see where we were at with this mix. These are important things that I feel like every year you're going to reevaluate how you view compression. Just like with EQing, every year I evaluate how an EQ works and how I'm using it, right? And your relationship with these tools will evolve over the years. Even the simplest things like gain staging, like setting the levels, you're going to reevaluate your approach to it almost every year. There's always more stuff to dig into. Yeah, no problem, Gene. That was a good question. Man. I really like the sound of these. So these we've got compressed a little bit. You can think of this needle, every time that jumps up, that's it pressing down on the ceiling. And you can see it's pressing down by 3 decibels it jumps up to. And we've increased the gain, like the floor, by 3 decibels as well. Without this, it sounds like this. Then with, it's just a little bit more vibrant, Yeah, that's why producers focus on the kick gain, because your limiter will push the other sounds up during the mastering process. Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I'm definitely curious about like my kick and my bass, right? Now, I don't think I want to apply compression to this piano. Sometimes I will, because it'll sound a little bit more vibrant. But like this piano sounds really great as is. I'm going to try it out just to see. We're going to throw an LA2A on this piano. I don't know though, this does sound a whole lot more vibrant. We're going to need to turn this down though. Okay, I like this. I actually do like this. I'm glad we pulled this out. But you see, we got to be careful not to over-compress everything. There we go. This is sounding pretty good. Like that piano, you'll notice sounds a little bit richer now because we've brought up the quietest parts, the floor, and we've brought down the ceiling. And every time that needle moves, it's compressing down on the loud parts. Let's do a little A/B testing. I'm just gonna flicker between the two so you guys can hear. Definitely with this one though, you'll notice that there is a loudness difference between the two, right? And you want to kind of eliminate as much loudness bias as possible when you are, especially when you're first starting to like wrap your mind around compressors. I feel like it's very easy to accidentally just make the sound louder and, you know, leave a compressor on there just because you like the boost in loudness, right? And it's like, okay, our brains are hardwired to like things that are louder, right? So just kind of, you know, it's something to keep in mind to make sure that what you're enjoying out of it is the compression, not just the loudness. We can always just turn things up if we need to, right? Yeah. I see Mars was saying, yeah, while composing, I follow the old rule of keeping the bass -3 decibels from the kick. Then I'll adjust all the sounds dying the mixing stage. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I feel it. About, yeah, a little bit, yeah. I like the bass being a little bit lower than the kick. I think in general, I think it really depends on the song, the kick, and the bass, right? Because if we have a kick that's more mid-range than the bass is, it's not going to be so much of an issue, right? So every situation is slightly different. But you're correct in that I always like to bring my bass up to and maybe a little bit below my kick. Like that's pretty good, you know? Yeah. Is LA2A, is it like OTT in some way? So no, actually. OTT is a very aggressive multi-band compressor, right? Whereas LA2A is a pretty warm sounding tube compressor, okay? So this is a pretty, almost as simple as a compressor can get. This knob controls the floor, right? This is the gain knob, right? So we're just setting the floor of like how loud is this audio. And then we have the peak reduction knob, which is how much are we bringing the ceiling down, right? So, and what you're going to see is like as you bring the gain up, this needle is going to be a lot more active because you're pushing the floor upwards. And then this peak reduction is also going to, as you increase this, it's going to make the needle more active because it is bringing the ceiling down, right? So we bring the floor up, the ceiling down. And what's cool about this tube compressor is this is modeled after an actual physical compressor. You can actually buy a real LA2A in real life. They're like $5,000, but they're a magnificent compressor that I think does really wonderful things to the mid-range. I love compressing things like piano in it because it feels like how sounds kind of get lumped as it starts to squeeze together seems to kind of draw a little bit of a focus towards the mid-range. I feel like we get a really like warm sound out of using this compressor. So this is applying to the whole of the EQ range, right? So like if we pull up an EQ, this is applying to the whole EQ range, and it's kind of makes this range feel a little bit more special because it's this special type of tube compressor, right? If we were to pull out OTT though, let's just hear the difference. OTT is very aggressive and it's split into different sections, right? We have our mid-range, we have our high range, and we have our low range. And these type bands of compression are being like aggressively compressed. We are smashing it, right? You can really hear this. It like took any sort of fuzz in the high range and it blasted it up, right? But this mid-range maybe is what we want to focus on more. Maybe we don't want that much depth. We'll turn down the upward. But you see how many artifacts that introduced? Suddenly it's like so grainy and fuzzy. This is why I avoid OTT and am not pulling it out in every situation. Sure, it makes things sound very, very like, you know, up there in your face, right? But it can also introduce a lot of muddiness if you're not careful, right? And it kind of can flatline any dynamics out of your mix just because it's such an aggressive compressor, right? So I think OTT is a very precise and aggressive tool to use. And LA2A, in my opinion, is a lot more of a gentle kind of compressor that especially works well with more mid-ranged instruments, right? Yeah, this feels good. We're probably going to even bring this down a little bit more. Let's just kind of gain stage it. Okay, now I think that we've kind of adjusted the gain of this piano, you know, and this is like so much of the body of the track, right? I think that we should consider the loudness of everything around it, right? So now like all of our lead instruments, let's just kind of go back through and kind of level things. I'm going to start by kind of bringing this forward a bit more. That and the saxophone a little bit. These are kind of like our main focus instruments in this section. There we go. We brought the sax up 2 decibels. Oh, yeah, this is feeling good. Now it's these guys' turn to shine. Let's bring this forward a little bit. This guy can be more subtle. Excuse me. Oh my God. Okay, this little lick of the banjo ukulele can be a little bit more subtle. I think we can set that down on the ground a bit more. See, it's good. Some of these things you want to be like these tiny details, right? That's how you get depth in your mixes. You don't want every single instrument to be like, "Ooh, we're grabbing this and pulling it forward." You know, you want to pick and choose where you're conserving energy, right? Yeah, those horns are perfect. Thank you, man. Yeah, Mar's saying it sounds so good. I appreciate you, man. I like this song a lot. I really hope to hear some bars on this soon. and this note gets cut off kind of awkwardly here. I'm kind of thinking like we'll let that bass note ring out, but we're gonna just like get rid of this guy. We'll just let this note ring out. Yeah, this track didn't need a ton of cleanup, honestly. I feel like most of what we did here was just kind of nudge into place the leveling and apply bits of compression in areas that we knew that we could get some vibrancy out of it, right? Did a little bit of touch up on that, on the drums. But not a whole lot. We added that tape processing to the bass, which I think gave us a lot of richness. Well, one thing that I know that we're going to need to do, so let's give ourselves a nice curvy fade out. Yeah, something nice and curvy. Okay. 1, 3, 6, and then let it fade. There we go. Cool. All right, let's run it back. Let's just see if anything kind of jumps out at us. This is something that I like to do a lot whenever I'm like, I finish fixing something in my mix, and then rather than like, I think that this is just good advice for you guys as well. It's just like, rather than going back and going, oh, I think, you know, I think there's a problem with my kicks. Let me listen to my kicks, you know. Don't do that, because you're always going to find problems with anything that you choose to examine, right? And then you're not quite mixing as objectively as you could be, right? I think that one of the best perspectives you can have as you are going through the process of mixing your music is you just simply listen to your music like a normal person, and if something sticks out at you as like an issue, right? Something sticks out like, ew, I don't like how that kick sounds, you know, then you know, like, now's the time to zero in on the kick and fix that, right? But if it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Like, I think that you can save yourself a lot of heartache by just trying to listen like a normal person. Yeah, I see. Yeah, Gene was saying, yeah, you did prep it good on the last live. Yeah, you're right. You were there when I made this. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, Mars agrees. Let's just listen. I think this little finger symbol could probably come up. It felt a little bit buried there, so I'm just gonna like raise it by 2 decibels. Let's see it then. That's almost too much. That feels good. In fact, I might even like, this first one felt almost a little loud. That second one felt like perfect volume for what was going on in the track there. So I'm thinking like maybe this first one we just bring down by like 1 decibel. Okay, yeah, that feels pretty good. See? That's awesome. The track itself isn't super static, right? So we're going to do that to this guy as well. We're just going to bring this guy down to -1 decibels. Let that other guy. There we are. What's up, Prod Soteria? How's it going? How's it going? He says, very nice beat. Nice mixing too. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Yeah, we made this on stream. I don't think it was this last Saturday. I think it was the Saturday before that Saturday morning cook-up. Super fun track that I'm hoping to get a rapper on this at some point. So we're kind of mixing it in a way that we're like kind of hoping for a one-size-fits-all sort of mix, you know? But I feel like we got something here that's like gonna really speak to an artist and give them that stage, right? Yeah, actually very refreshing. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Okay, let's see if anything else sticks out at us, right? Yeah, he says, is this all VSTs or did you use some real instruments? Yeah, I used some real instruments. So I like sampled, I started with this piano lick and I kind of just made some small chops. Like I did this little double chop here, but nothing too fancy. I think I just pitched it, pitched it down 3 steps. And, you know, it's like, for me, I'm just more concerned with, like, I just want to start with something that's going to give me something to really build off of. So then we made these drums here. I like doing a lot of stuff with, like, these secondary snares. So we banged this out on the MPC, right? And then we added in like little finger cymbals and good stuff like that. We came in with this melody we laid ourselves. This is from the Splice Instruments VST. I really like this plucked instrument. It's called Behind the Bridge. Yeah. And of course, you know, we came in with our bass. I think we just sampled the saxophone. We did this one like pretty slick sort of roll on this banjo ukulele over here. So it's kind of a mixture, right? Yeah, some good stuff. Hell yeah, real nice. Thank you. Now I noticed that we have a good amount of this track being sent to our reverb return track, right? But we didn't include this this guy, nor did we include the finger cymbals. I think right now I want to just kind of evaluate, do we want to include these in this return track, or at least send a portion of these to the same reverb that we're sending our one-shots, right? The stuff that we chopped on the MPC. So let's kind of play with it a little bit. You can see how much I had sent to this reverb over here. This is just the stock Ableton reverb that, you know, appears on every track, you know. We'll see. But yeah, Protosteria says, I subbed, by the way. Thank you, man. That banjo's a good touch. Thank you. But yeah, catch you later. Hey, you take it easy, man. Thanks for popping in, dude. Hell yeah. All right, let's see if we send a little bit of the shaker to the same track. It's not like a super drastic difference, right? We can even solo the return track. Like, honestly, I don't think that this is going to make or break this shaker, right? I think having it set like this makes it feel a little bit more full than the other one, but it's not like life-changing, right? It's pretty good. What's up, XCOD? How's it going, dude? Yeah, hell yeah, brother. How's your day going, man? But yeah, like that, I guess it helps it feel a little bit more fleshed out. I don't know about like I guess the last thing to play with is this finger symbol. This already has a big reverb on it. Yeah, sitting into this return track gives it a little bit more vibrance, but again, it's like nothing life-changing. I think this sounds good as is here. Like, yeah, we sent some to it. It wasn't like crazy difference, but positive differences, I would say. Right? We're kind of getting down to the point where it's like almost time to start mastering this. Oh man, you know, one thing I wanted to talk about today, did you guys see the new giant changes that Spotify announced? Spotify announced that it's going to stop pushing AI tracks in its algorithmic suggestions and in its editorial playlists. Which, if you know anything about Spotify, if you are an artist with music on Spotify, that should be shocking news. Groundbreaking news. Like, holy shit. I know that decision is going to financially benefit me quite a bit. Because I will tell you this, I think over the course of the past 6 months or so, the amount of algorithmic traffic that I've gotten from Spotify has dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. I think I used to get anywhere from like 100,000 to 120,000 streams a month from algorithmic stuff on, and nowadays I get maybe somewhere between 40 to 60,000 algorithmic streams per month. And I think it's because the sheer amount of volume of just like AI slop being pushed out on Spotify, right? It's taking up real space on their platform. Algorithmic space. Right? It's kind of choked up their system with how many people are just like pushing out AI slop. And you know, it's just crazy to me that Spotify announced the other day that starting sometime mid-September, they're going to just fully halt pushing out any music from what they call an AI persona. So I guess there might be some gray area, right? But for the most part, most of these AI tracks are not going to get algorithmic support from Spotify. They're not going to be pushing algorithmically in radio or, you know, in any of their autoplay. They're also not going to be including AI artists in their editorial playlist, which I know for a long time people had been accusing Spotify of, you know, filling out their editorial playlists with AI music so they don't have to pay people. I don't know how founded those accusations were, but I mean, sure makes you wonder with some of these editorial playlists, seeing how much of it really was just like AI slop, right? So I don't know. This might be major. I'm hoping, me personally, that my radio and algorithmic streams might increase from the 40 or 60,000 streams I'm getting now back up to the 120,000 streams that I used to get. And I'm about to increase my ad spend on my music, so I feel like it's a really great time to be doing that, right? Yeah, and I see Gene was saying, yeah, Suno also is adding watermark restrictions embedded in the sound generated. Thank God! And I think it's because they're getting their ass kicked in court, man. They're totally getting their ass kicked in court. Yeah, he says, but where there's rules, people are going to find bypass. Yeah, but here's what I'll tell you about that, man. People that generate AI tracks and are trying to game the system through generating AI tracks, they're not the type of people that are going to be putting in hard work to try to best, and bypass the system, right? I was actually talking about this with my wife last night, and, we're both software people. And I think something that, my wife understands more than most people, and, to an extension as well, me, is that some of the smartest people in the world are working on these detection algorithms for Spotify, right? Some of the smartest engineers in the world are working on this. And if, and I think your average Suno user is just some dude in his, mom's basement that thinks that, by just prompting more efficiently, he might be able to trick the smartest people in the world, that are designing these algorithms. So they're certainly going to try to bypass, but also, I don't know, man. I don't think that's going to be easy for people necessarily, right? Anyways, I've yapped at you guys enough. Let's give this one more listen through, and let's see if it's time to master this track. Yeah, Mars is like, oh, dude, I'm telling you. It's the same thing with, people that tried to, game the algorithm on Spotify by, botting their shit. It's like you're trying to trick the smartest software engineers in the world, right? Probably not going to be so successful. It's probably not a super easy task, right? Yeah. There's always data left in metadata. Yeah, there's always going to be some dead giveaways. And honestly, I feel like they're going to probably degrade their music so much trying to find ways to throw these detection algorithms off that they're just going to even further degrade the quality of what they're trying to put out anyways, right? Yeah, Gene says, let's say you are a great graphic designer. You created that great anime and made all of your soundtrack on Suno, but now you get wrecked by the same protection. Well, if you're generating your soundtrack on Suno and you're trying to put out that music, I don't know. I'll play the world's tiniest violin. Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Mars says they can also detect rapid frequency changes. That's a tell of AI. Yeah. And I will say, as somebody that releases once every 2 weeks, I feel like I put out a lot of music, but even I, in my abundance, don't have any problem with that, He says it's all about implementing the number of scrubs. Yeah. It's, I think that there are a lot of things that are kind of a dead giveaway as to, if something is AI or not. But honestly, I'm not an expert on how these detection algorithms work. And I have a hunch, though, that these detection algorithms are definitely outsmarting these, people that are generating these songs, because otherwise, I can just tell you my wife is a playlist curator. And, 9 times out of 10, when something sounds AI, she runs it through Submit Hub's AI checker tool, and it catches it all the time. That tool is actually really good. So anyways, guys, this is sounding really great. I think it's about time to move on to the mastering. Let's start with the Shadow Hills master compressor. We're going to enable sidechain. But yeah, AI sound signature isn't great to begin with. Yeah. Yeah, he says, yes, you are. It's basically the same process as firmware security. Oh, okay. Yeah. I gotcha. It's been a while, man. It's been a while since I've taken, like, system security. Oh yeah, this is getting nice and compressed. But yeah, Mars says, they're just making programs that analyze the data and report when something doesn't look right. Then they slowly make the program better by adding more and more detection scrubs. Yeah, no, that makes sense to me. And that's the thing though, is like, I don't think that people are going to be able to outsmart it. Maybe not to the degree that people are hoping, right? If there was a simple way to bypass copyright detection programs, we would be doing that already, but there's not. And I think the same is going to go for like AI tools. Yeah, they're fighting phishing the same way. Yeah, no, I hear ya. Dude, this sounds great. This sounds fucking awesome. Okay, I think we're ready to start layering on the next things. I like to do... Okay, this is where we're going to find out if Oxide is going to be too much or just right for this. Let's do some tape processing. We might try turning off the Oxide on the bass itself here. Yeah, because otherwise it feels a little bit too much. Yo, Signature, what's up, dude? How's your day going, man? We were just talking about how Spotify just decided that they're not going to be pushing AI music in their algorithms anymore. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, Mars says, well, let's be honest. Congress should have passed legislation requiring the AI services to leave some anomalies in the program's metadata. Yeah, and I think we're getting closer to that, man. Like, I don't think that Suno would be watermarking their stuff if they weren't getting their ass handed to them in court currently. Now we just need, the legislation to catch up to policies that companies are making, such as Suno now watermarking their songs, and also Spotify is now putting restrictions on how AI music is being promoted. Legislation is always the last thing to catch up, right? It's always the last thing, and by the time it always passes, it's almost like it almost feels irrelevant anymore, right? But it will happen, right? We're just living in this weird time where AI has not been legislated, right? And so it's kind of the Wild West of like fucking AI slop, right? Yeah. Gene's like, another AI will fight the encrypting one. Yeah. Alright, this is sounding cool. Let's see if we do a little bit of saturation on this. Ooh, this is sounding very vibrant. Dude, this sounds dope. Yeah, Mara says, yeah, for instance, artists leave anomalies in the YouTube metadata and granular gaps in the actual songs as a security defense against theft. Yeah. I feel like sometimes the act of watermarking something is easier than removing a watermark, right? Like, that's kind of in our favor, right? Dude, this track sounds fucking sick. I'm like so in love with what we're doing here with this track. Oh, damn. Okay, one last thing that we're going to add for flavor. We're going to add our 610A preamp and try to do a mechanical EQ boost to the highs. You know, quote unquote mechanical. Let's try this. Okay, hearing this though, with these shakers, I think that we just need to set these shakers down a bit. There we go. Yeah. Like you leaving, it's TapDaddyBeats. Yeah, dude. The TapDaddyBeats, you know, producer tags are already being generated through AI. I've heard people getting the Cash Money AP tag on their generated beats, right? And it's like, yeah, I don't know if it's training on my songs, it's gonna have a TapDaddyBeats tag in there. Yeah, Gene saying like, yeah, like the TapDaddy tag, but embedded watermark. Don't worry, they will make money providing the service. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. Alright. Let's see what our max peak is sitting at. Damn, this song sounds so classy, man. I like it. All right. So, yeah, let's we've got minus 5.07 as our max peak value. So we're going to boost it by that much. We're going to say plus 5.07. And we're going to slap a limiter down on the other side just to catch anything that might be stepping its toe over the line. Boom. All right, this is going to be a little louder, just warning you guys. But yeah, Gene says great mix and sound selection. Thank you, man. Man, that snare is cracking, dude. I kind of want to tame it just because I feel like it's almost overbearing. I don't know, though. This should be fine. Yeah. Flock camera systems are a bigger worry for me. Some private foreign entity gathering our private data. Yo, for real. Some corporation is probably gathering our, you know, for-profit prisons are doing research on potentially upcoming inmates, right? All right, I think we're about ready to start applying our last bit of limiting here. Let's pull out ozone and start putting our ozone maximizer to work. All right, let's run this. Little loudness warning, this might jump up in volume, just letting y'all know. Okay, I actually agree with this for the most part. We might not need such a drastic lift. Dude, this sounds majestic. Oh, man. That's amazing. But yeah, I see Signature says, yeah, Spotify LOB, they took my verified artist profile because I've not reached 10,000 monthly listeners. They keep moving the goalposts. Dude, that's such bullshit. I'm not gonna lie. Signature, you absolutely should have your verified badge. This is kind of one of those things that, like, Spotify always seems to, like, roll out certain things, to larger artists first, like, for example, like, having a countdown page is something that I've had to have more than 10,000 active monthly listeners in order to get this sort of functionality. But I'm kind of like, I don't understand why they're gatekeeping some of the functionality from just everyday artists, right? Like, if you're a real person, I should be able to see a verification that you're a real person, right? Like, I don't think that we should gatekeep that behind, having a lot of listeners. And, I will say also, they said that the goal is, 10,000 active monthly listeners, which is, like, even harder to get than 10,000 monthly listeners, right? And, but at the same time, I've seen a lot of smaller artists than I am, a lot of smaller artists getting their verified badge. So I don't even know what the criteria is anymore. I just think it's lame that they're gatekeeping a verified badge, And when it's like, we have so many bad actors on Spotify that we totally should take away their verified badge. We shouldn't make people guess at people that are just trying to get their Spotify off the ground, right? If you have less than the qualified amount for the verification badge, I feel like you could use all of the support that, you could get to prove to people that you're a real artist that with good intention, right? I don't know, man. I feel like in some ways Spotify could be investing in smaller artists by just giving them access to the same stuff that everybody else has, It's like, you really could benefit from this the most, I don't know. It irks me, man. It irks me. I think that you absolutely should be verified. Anyways, let's see where we're at with our loudness. Let's pull out Ulean and slap that down over here. Here we go. But yeah, especially with like pre-save pages, like, I don't know, give people tools that'll help them grow, like actual tools that'll actually help them. Whoa, what a radical concept, But yeah, Gene says, Mars was saying there should be a requirement to state that the music they're making is AI made. Yeah, absolutely. And they're starting to lay that down in September. Every person, whether they've reported it or not, if they are an AI persona, they're gonna get this AI persona badge. Yeah, Gene was saying, oh wow, nothing like that so far in Europe. The airports, though, is another story. Oh, were you talking about the flock cameras? Yeah. Dude, we might have an insane LUFS here. Yeah, Signature says totally, especially when they want so much information. I know, right? I heard an artifact there. We're gonna have to go clean that up. Yeah, Mars says the problem exists because of the licensing issues. When all the music required a copyright, there wasn't a problem. You're right, though. We haven't legislated how we're... Because in order for something to be copyrightable, there has to be like... I forget exactly what it says in law, but it has something to do with like... It has to be a human made, like convincingly made by a human, right? Okay, so we're overshooting our LUFS right now, which is good because I heard a few clips in there. We were kind of clipping. Let's start pushing this up a little bit. And we might even start to slow the rate of limiting. Let's back this out now and see where we're at now that we got this. But yeah, I see Mars saying you would have to send all your DAW files for them to examine it. But you see, that's something that happens, you know, in a court case. Basically, if you have an issue with copyright, you know, if somebody's infringing on your copyrights, you take them to court, and then you can show to a jury, like, here's the DAW project, here's the date that this file was created, like, I made this, right? Okay, let's see what our new LUFS value is. Let's listen for artifacts. Ooh, sounded a little rough. Yeah, Signature says, yep, and we all suffer. Never used AI. Yeah, no, I feel you, man. Yeah, the Copyright Office would send requests to the sample companies requesting use of their sounds in the song. Yeah, for legal acceptance. Yeah, I guess the big thing is you can't copyright AI music because it's written by nobody. It's written by everybody and nobody, right? All right, minus 10.4. We could come minus 10.5. I think really what I want to do here is we're aiming for minus 10.5. That's good. I just heard like a little bit of artifacts. We're going to try to slow down the rate of clipping even more. or the rate of limiting is what I meant to say. Yeah. Gene says only using AI on Tinder. What? No, bad Gene. No, we're not supposed to be using AI on Tinder. Are you out here catfishing people, Gene? Be honest with us. Yeah. Signature says, I rise above it. Bigger fish to fry. Yeah, absolutely, dude. Hey, a bunch of chuds in their basement trying to be half of what I am is not going to slow me down from being what I am, right? That's the way I view it. Like, we're full steam ahead over here as, TapDaddyBeats. Yeah, you can definitely tell when a song is from a true artist. True. I mean, AI definitely just has that sort of graininess to it that's like, you can spot it. And also, I feel like I only hear AI make stuff that sounds like it's come from something tangential to mainstream music. Like, you don't quite hear AI making like more niche stuff, right? I don't know. I've been enjoying the seeing on like r/Suno. Okay, I've been totally just like, I've just been lurking on a lot of AI subreddits recently with all these changes being made, because not only that, I guess Suno announced that now they're only allowing people 20 downloads per month. And that's at the tier that is the $20 tier. So they're basically charging people $1 per download of their generated slop, right? And people are pissed. And it's kind of funny, man. There's a lot of people that are like, oh man, I saw one post the other day of some guy that was like reading through the new terms of service for Suno, and he was like, guys, like the 20 limit, the 20 download cap isn't even the worst thing. Check out this article in the terms of service. And it basically just said like, oh yeah, any lyrics or audio that you give to Suno, they're going to use to train their models. That was what this guy was all mad about. And people were roasting him in the comments. People were like, oh no, my plagiarism machine plagiarized me. Oh, woe is me. Like... That's a wild thing to be mad about. Yeah, his signature's like, yeah, they're crying. Oh man, it's funny. I don't know. I'm happy. I'm like, Suno's cracking down. They're getting their ass kicked in court. Spotify is making changes to their algorithm to only push real artists and not AI slop. Which is a decision that is going to directly financially benefit me. I'm like the planets are aligning, guys. Planets are aligning. Holy shit. Like, we gotta be, like, I'm celebrating, okay? As soon as I heard that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to benefit me. The fact that there's gonna be so much more space in radio and algorithmic on Spotify for real artists like myself, right? I don't know. I'm hoping anyways. I'm trying to not get too excited before I actually see it in action, right? But I'm hoping for a nice lift in algorithmic push on Spotify, Yeah. Signature's like, never laughed so loud. Yeah. Yeah, Gene's saying theft in music is as old as the first hit record. True. True, there's always going to be theft, but, as long as there's laws that exist, we'll be able to nip it in the butt, right? All right, let's save as, and then let's move on to our next track that we're going to be mixing today. We're actually going to be doing a little bit of a V2 on something that we've mixed before. And it's something that I want to get prepared to stem out tonight. We might even do a little stemming on stream. We'll see. Yeah, we're just getting stuff done today, honestly. All right. Let me get that next one loading up. I think it was song 1055. Yeah, 1055 mix V1. We're going to do a mix V2 on this. But I think before we hit that, I'm going to go grab some coffee. I think it's time for some hot coffee. So, oh wow, that loaded fast. Hell yeah. So while I'm doing that, I'm going to play for you guys my newest release. It's called For All the Marbles. And of course, I've got a new album coming out in 21 days, 7 hours, 26 minutes, and 55 seconds. Definitely go check it out. Nothing is Real, my new Neo Soul album dropping in September 4th. It's going to be good. But yeah, Mars says, I'm okay with podcasts making AI music for their shows, but people selling AI music on Spotify, get the fuck out. Yo, honestly, I would rather podcast purchase and license music from somebody real, like myself or others, I don't know. I'm kind of I would rather they just use a service like fucking whatchamacallit. It starts with an S. It's like something sound. What's the service that all the YouTubers use for their music? It's good. Anyways, I'll be right back, guys. All right, I am back, and man, got some hot coffee, good stuff. But yes, the organ is dope. Thank you, man. Thank you. Everybody's getting coffee. Oh man. But anyways, guys, let's get into our next project. Now, this, I remember, was an absolute mess. You know, I tell you guys sometimes, a lot of the times when we're doing our mixes on stream, what you guys are seeing is the V1, and oftentimes I go back and do a V2 or a V3 if I need. This was one where we definitely missed the mark, and I think it got away from us in the master chain. Like, I was really fighting it in the master. Tells me that there's probably something wrong with the mix, right? Or maybe this master chain is just like way too overblown. But I remember being very much like, this was one of those where I listened to it back the next day and was like, whoa, I don't like that, So let's hear it. Let's see how bad this mix is, and then let's fix it. So where are we at? Here it is. It's a little overblown. Oh yeah, we had to do some crazy EQing here. That tells me that we can fix some stuff in this mix. Yeah, way too much bass compression. Yeah, we really EQ'd this down, and then, yeah, it's like, because it was so far up in the mix, I think that we compressed it quite a bit on our, like this guy. I see we're going really hard on the discrete compressor. This will be interesting though. I'm going to show you guys how I go about a V2 mix. Step one is just listening through it. Yeah, I think it really was the bass and the master chain that I think was kind of where we got a little bit off here. So here's what I do whenever I'm backing us out and doing a mix V2, especially if it's already mastered, is I'm going to group together this master chain, and we're going to leave this be. We're just going to like turn it off for now. And now we're going to head back into the mix. This is going to be a lot quieter, so if you guys need to turn up your headphones, please do. We're going to be just kind of listening through the mix now. And deciding, evaluating. We kind of saw, we have a hunch it's that the bass is like poking out way too much, right? We might need to like tame that down a little bit. But let's see what we're working with here with just the mix. Oh wow, this is a lot quieter. I think part of the issue might have been that we just started at such a low volume. You don't use a reference track from your Volt? No, not really. I'm kind of at that point where it's like I know how I like my mixes to sound, right? I'm usually not using reference tracks anymore unless if I'm working with a client. Oh, I see. Something stuck out. Okay, so I'm thinking like here's... Oh, you know what? Let's get rid of this Ampeg on this. Okay, yeah, that was giving us crazy bass lift. I'm going to turn my volume up. I'm going to turn my mic volume down so that we can all listen at a more reasonable level. Let's see. Test, 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 test. Okay, my mic volume is a little bit lower. Now we can listen to this a little bit higher. Here we go. And I also feel like this electric piano is like sitting a little bit too high in the mix. We've got way too much emphasis on this mid-range. Yeah, really, it was just like we just kind of need to reevaluate how we have things leveled here. We also had on this bass, we had this Ampeg. We were running it through this guitar amp, which was a little experimental, and I think this kind of threw us off because it was generating so much frequency in the low range, and also what kind of made that problem worse was this oxide tape recorder brings out a lot of vibrancy in that low range, which I think that we were suffering from like low overload. We were overloading that low range, and we also brought up our electric piano. What's consuming that mid-range is, we were trying to bring that up to almost compete with what we had going on in the low range, right? And it just kind of fell apart from there, I think. Yeah, love this track. Thank you, Signature. I think it's pretty brilliant. I like this. This one's going to be coming out on BeatStars, and I might pull it into the Spotify collection eventually. We'll see. And then I think like this can come down. Here's what I'm going to do. We're going to start tightening everything down, right? We're going to kind of like just button down the hatches. We're going to tighten it as much as possible. And then we're going to bring everything up a little bit higher before we feed it into the master chain. Before I get too carried away with this, we are going to do a save live set as Mix V2, just so I don't forget. That way we can always come back to the initial mix if need be. So Mix V2, there we are. Yeah, that's like super loud now. Sync that into the background a little bit more. Yeah, that'll need to sync back a little bit as well, but let's focus on this. yeah, that little swoop up, we're going to have to, and I think that's this guy. Yeah, this is perfect. We can just kind of poke this down in the mix a little bit. And we've also got paired with that. See, as we're starting to like kind of poke in, make this a tighter package, basically, is kind of the goal of this. I think aside from that, like EQing wise and just you know, how these drums are feeling, how this bass is feeling pretty good, right? I think that we just kind of had one thing that kind of unraveled our mix a little bit, which was we had way too much emphasis in our bass, and we got rid of the plugins that was creating that. And now that our bass is like a normal volume, we noticed that our mid-range was jutting out so much, that our mid-range was so loud. So we brought that back, and now it's like, okay, now there's like a lot of leftover details that are also sticking out because it was trying to compete with that sort of loudness. So really, we're just kind of nudging things into place here, and I think this is turning out pretty well. Yeah, the kick and bass sound muffled to me, but it might be the creative direction. And you know what? I feel like that's a fair observation, Gene. I think you're right, and it is kind of part of the creative direction. So I want to show you something here. These drums, we've got Decapitator, hardly know her. You know, a little bit of a crunch on this kick, right? Then we've got Ampeg. Right, so this is making it very like muted and knocky, which definitely is a creative decision, but it's a creative decision that we have to work with, right? After that, we have parallel compression going on right here. So just to show you, like without the Ampeg, which this sounds way too dry to me and like uninteresting, right? I love how this feels though through this guitar amp. Like this is a creative decision. It's just, yeah, it is kind of like we're making it more muffled. It's kind of like boxy. Yeah, Mars says, finally got my coffee. Hey, cheers, man. Oh, yeah, Signature says it's like a heartbeat. Yo, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it is like this thumpy, muffled sound, right? I don't know. Somebody told me in a YouTube Shorts comment the other day that, you know, I had pretty much exactly these sorts of drums with this kind of setup with the Ampeg on this like really boxy sounding like boom bap sort of drums, and the guy said that it sounds amateurish and bad, and I was like, oh, okay, all right. I mean, I'm open to the criticism. I get it that it's like we are boxing this in, you know. To me, I feel like it's a very interesting bumpy and boxy kind of like boom bap sound. I kind of understand though where some people might draw a criticism from it, where it's like, no, it's like too muffled. But I don't know. I love this sort of feel. It feels very raw. Yeah. What if the parallel comp come before the amp? Oh, that's kind of an interesting. So here's why I did this after the amp, but let's try it both ways. This is a great like learning example, right? So as we learned from this Ampeg, this thing generates a lot of these like really boomy frequencies underneath. If we turn this off, let's see what we got here. And then we turn this on, and it kind of lifts everything except for like that kick is probably one of the loudest things in here, right? So if we did it the other way, this would result in a boomier low end, I think, which is, I think, what we want to avoid, right? It feels boxy as is, so we don't want to make it feel even more boxy and damp. This to me just feels a little bit tighter. Now I am curious if we brought up the compressed version. So we're running this in parallel, and right now it's leaning mostly towards dry. I'm kind of curious if we make this a little bit wet. Maybe bring this down a little bit. I don't know though, actually. I kind of like how the kick really is still feeling really bumpy, you know, doing this before the Ampeg. That's interesting. It kind of goes against the logic of what I was trying to do there, but I can't deny, like, you know, when we hit a good result, it's like this is giving that just enough of a bump to that low end that kick is feeling extra thumpy and cool. Yeah, Mars says, yeah, the amp is saturating the whole frequency range above a certain decibel value, adding and subtracting harmonic content. Interesting, yeah. Sidechain the kick. I don't think it's necessary. We've got so much going on here that I'm not sure if I want like a ton of waviness, because we have a lot of these like very ethereal details that are going to feel weird if they're not also sidechained as well. It's kind of like a big decision where I feel like it's not really necessary right now, because that kick is thumping through so nicely and so cleanly. But what we will do is we're going to have our Shadow Hills master compressor with sidechain enabled, which is going to help glue those kicks in with the rest of the track a little bit. So it should work pretty nicely, you know. We're going to get a little bit of that sidechain action. But right now, we're trying to keep our approach to fixing this as simple as possible, right? So we're trying to not run on too many grand ideas, because we've got this mix like pretty closely dialed in, right? It's just like we're trying to correct some small mistakes that we made last time that we were mixing this. So I think in helping preserve what we've got, we want to try to not drastically change our approach to the mix. We want to kind of stick by a little bit of what we've already laid down and just fix the things that are wrong with it, right? So also, you'll notice I pulled forward the compressed version and brought down the dry version of these drums in our parallel compression chain, right? This is our parallel compression. Basically what you can think of it as is this guy is a version of these drums that are compressed. This guy is a version of these drums that are completely dry. And what we're doing here is we're running them side by side with each other, and we're just sliding up and down how loud each one is, right? So we're running these in parallel, a compressed version and a dry version right next to each other right at the same time. And we're basically deciding how loud the compressed version is compared to the loudness of the dry version. What I did here is I brought forward the compressed version and I brought back the dry version, and I think as a result you hear a lot more of the secondary snare, all of the little rolls and stuff like that and syncopations. And I like that sound. That's cool. Okay, we're getting closer, guys. Let's keep listening through this. But yeah, I see Mars saying, you know what I always thought would be cool? If DAWs added a MIDI note feature that allowed you to bypass / activate, it would be much cooler than drawing in automation. What do you mean by that? A MIDI note feature that allows you to bypass / activate. What do you mean by bypass or activate? Like you can just turn your MIDI off? Be much cooler than drawing in automation. Try to envision what you're getting at. I think we're pretty much there. Let's see where we're at with this guy. We're probably going to do a little bit of compression on this guy just to kind of tuck in the edges, and then we're going to set him back in the mix a little bit more. Yeah, because that third chord gets pretty quiet compared to the rest. So I'm like, okay, we'll just kind of compress this a little bit to kind of like normalize it. And then we'll just kind of set this back further in the mix. There we go. But yeah, Mars says no. It would be like the plugin is bypassed, and only when you placed a MIDI note would it activate, turn on. Oh, interesting. I guess, so you're basically saying like it would save on like CPU usage if a plugin is only active if there is a MIDI note placed. That might be interesting. And this is where, you know, sometimes I feel like some of the ways that these pieces of software operate might already be that smart. You just don't notice it as the user. Like, I guess, you know, what you're describing would be like a CPU saving way of analyzing, like, do we even use this? And if not, then just turn it off, right? And I just have a hunch that some of these really well designed out plugins like, or DAWs like Ableton and FL Studio might already operate in a way like that, where it's like, well, if there's not even anything using this, then we'll just cut out the extra CPU loads, right? I have no idea. That's really where, I don't know. But yeah, he says not really. It would just be easier than drawing it all in. Okay, not CPU, program level. Okay. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that would work. Like a ghost note but for automation. Yeah, I'm not sure. They do with masking, not with bypass. Okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. Sounds like we need to get this man to the Ableton offices to implement some shit. Okay, let's go over here, see where we were at, see what we're doing with these guys. Oh, these actually are sitting nicely in the mix. I was expecting we were gonna have to like bring this trumpet back a bit, but this is feeling good. But yeah, you can mask using clips, but I'm specifically talking about bypassing plugins. I guess I'm just curious, like, what would be the advantage of bypassing until there is a note placed? Like, not CPU, but program level. Because, I don't know. I'm just trying to think about what would be, like, the workflow advantage to having that be the case. All right, I'm thinking that we're feeling pretty good about this. Let's give it one more listen through. And then we're going to move on to the mastering of this. We're going to redo the master from scratch. And then we might even just start stemming this if we've got time. We're going to need to name this beat, though, if we're going to stem this. You guys got any good names for this one? Like the laser saturation. Okay, so like what would be the advantage of that delay being bypassed until you place a note is I guess what I'm curious about. You can control bypass timing without having to draw complicated automation. Yeah, but like, if I delay out like that sound that we just heard, what is the harm in having that on versus having it off? Like, why would I need it to be bypassed until it's used if nothing is being played through it until I place a note? You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I don't have to automate it to only turn on right before it comes in. Unless if you're talking about like CPU usage, then it's kind of like I could maybe see a case. Yeah, you're right. Just drawing in a MIDI note. Okay, yeah. Okay, man. So this is sounding good. I don't think that we have to like really fuck with this too much. We're gonna basically build this master chain again, but we're gonna try to be a little bit more conservative with how we go about it. First of all, yeah, our max peak is -6.45. That's a pretty good starting place, I suppose. Let's start with some Shadow Hills master compression. We're gonna enable sidechain. We're gonna start walking through this track. I'm going a little bit less heavy on the discrete compressor this time. But yeah, he says, no, you can program it to turn on only when the note is there. Yeah, Signature was saying you trigger it. Yeah, bypass has only 2 states, on and off. It would make sense. Yeah, with the MIDI note alone. Okay. It makes more sense than drawing. Okay, yeah. But what if I want that delay to be off when the first MIDI note hits, and I only want it to turn on in the last two notes? You know, then I have to draw it in. That's the only time I'm drawing on my delays. Otherwise, it's just on, right? All right, we've got something pretty good here. Now let's try the oxide. I might even try boosting this up a little bit on the input. We'll turn it down a bit on the output. Yeah, you just put a MIDI note where you want it on, or you can program it to do the opposite. Oh, interesting. Okay. So it's like, kind of like how some sample libraries, like, you know, instruments for stuff like Contact have special notes that change the, you know, the intonation or something, right? But you're thinking like a control like that, but for automating your delay. I don't know, man. I might be completely missing the point. I'm sorry. I feel like I must be frustrating to try to explain this to, because I clearly am just like not getting it. I'm just being a dumbass. And now we're gonna pull out Little Radiator. We're gonna be pretty sparing with this one this time. Yeah, kind of like the difference between loop and one shot, but you're controlling when the effect is on or off during the song with a MIDI note. Okay, interesting. I feel like at that point it's like almost the same amount of effort as just drawing it in. Yeah. Geeking way above my scalp. Yeah. Oh, the note length is used as a timing and trigger. At that point, I feel like it's just the same amount of work as drawing it in. You're just drawing it in a different way. Unless if, you know, you might be like playing it, but then you have to have one note that's free for that specific person, like use case, right? Oh, and you know what? I might even delete. There's like one bass note, pickup note that I feel like feels very strange here. Maybe we'll just lop that guy off. Yeah, that feels a lot cleaner. I feel like this little radiator is still too much. And maybe this electric piano can come down slightly more. I don't know about Okay. Trying to avoid the same issues that we came into last time where the bass was like way too out of control before we passed it on to Ozone. Might even try a tiny bit of an EQ pushing down on that kick just because it's so extra loud, right? You see that? Just a little bit to kind of help tame it, nudge it into place. Okay, that's feeling a little bit better. Okay. If the bypass were just a MIDI note, I guess that does kind of like allow you to do automations live while you're playing, I suppose, in a much more accessible way. So I guess I can kind of envision a use case for that. All right, so now that we've got that, let's back this out. Let's listen to the full track and let's see what our max peak value is. I think it's what we've got right here, the minus 4.91. Let's hear it though. It'd be a great feature for sound design and arrangement. You know, it kind of reminds me of like, I don't know, Ben Jordan did a whole video on these like, I don't know, they're like these special keyboards that are like these arrangement keyboards basically, where they come preloaded with all these songs and loops and stuff that you can piece together and arrange in a lot of different ways and then play instruments over the top. I forget what exactly they're called, but it's like based around a lot of the logic that you're describing here, where it's like a lot of functionality is accessible to you through the click of a button, so you can like do live performance kind of stuff. I'm trying to think what the fuck they were called. It was an interesting video though. Oh yeah, Max for Live. There's probably a solution there. Yeah, Gene's probably got it right. I haven't even begun to wrap my mind around Max for Live. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like that is like Ableton on a nerdy level that I haven't even started to comprehend yet. I'd love to one day be a master of Max for Live. If I ever do wrap my mind around it, I'll make a bunch of free Max for Live tools for you guys. Yeah, and the track lane itself, yeah, exactly. The MIDI note is the perfect use for a bypass. Fair enough. All right, so yeah, minus 4.95. We're gonna pull out our utility plugin. We're gonna boost it by 4.95. There we are, and then we are gonna just slap a limiter on the other side to be like, stop it. If it's trying to toe its toe over the line. There we go. All right. And let's just kind of see how we're doing. I have a hunch that this kick's gonna be, or this snare is gonna be a little bit too much. So let's go ahead and just kind of tame this down. In fact, I think the drums can come down a bit. Maybe it's fine where it's at. Let's just pull this snare down a bit. Yeah. Just think of Max for Live as like Reason within Ableton. You can create your own device. Yes, that's actually a good way of describing Max for Live. You can just create anything that you need, any custom tool that you might need. Y'all are stuck with me. Max for Life. I like that. Yeah. Max for Life. Alright guys, we are going to add our last bit of limiting here. We're going to use Ozone and try to drive this home. This is going to jump up in volume, just warning you guys now. Alright, let's run it. Let's see what we can do, what we can pull out of this. Sounds like something's wrong here. Yeah, that's fucked. It's just like destroying. Okay, this is fucked. This is so fucked. What's going on here? Yeah, let's get this all normal and then let's decide what we're doing here. Boy, even after the adjustments we've made, you can see it just how much that low end is like so out of control. You know what we might end up doing? We're going to do a little bit of limiting on both this guy and probably the bass as well. Let's start by turning this off. We're gonna turn our drums down by like 1. We're gonna bring our key bass down a little bit, as well as this organ is just like jutting out there. Man, this is actually a lot louder than I noticed. Oh, you know what it really is? It's this guy. Yeah, we gotta kind of compress this guy a little bit more. There we go. Here, let's set this at 0. We're going to get a max peak again and then reset it. But first, let's just make sure that we like how this is positioned. I feel like this is kind of an instance where we began to master it and we learned a lot about where the balance of our track is at, which is it's overwhelmingly the low and mid range is kind of out of control, and we're still trying to tame that. Don't making noises. Okay, we're getting a lot closer, getting it a lot more locked in. Okay, we're just doing like a slight adjustment of how things are kind of leveled, right? Kind of pulling things down here and there. So now we're gonna go get our new max peak. And we're really trying to limit. We're probably going to do a soft clip to try to preserve some of the punch here. But yeah. Dude, Mars says, dude, you just gave me a crazy idea. Let's hear it, man. What's your crazy idea? It says, what if you had a bypass MIDI note feature that you could bend into? What do you mean by bend into? How do you bend into a bypass note? That's a little bit of a loud lift here. We're gonna try to bring that down a little bit, but we're looking at minus 5.34, so we did bring down our ceiling a little bit. Let's go over to our bass here. And we're gonna try to limit this bass a little bit. Oh yeah, I think we just preserved a little bit of our ceiling here. Now it's showing minus 7.35. We were at like minus 4 point something. But we basically went back, we limited the drums, we limited the bass a little bit. There we go. So yeah, he says, so you choose a note on your pattern as the bypass MIDI note. Then you can bend the pitch on a note that when it reaches that semitone, triggers the bypass. Huh. So it's like if you bend into like whatever note, it bypasses. I'm trying to think of like a good use case for that, but I like where your mind's at. You know, like I bet that there's a way that you're gonna get some interesting results from some sort of experimentation like that. This guy is gonna come down a little bit. We're back up to minus 5.95. Okay, I think we've gotten a lot closer. Minus 6.03 is our new max peak. I think we could bring this guy back a little bit. Might even just try a little bit of compression on this guy. Basically, we're trying to do more of this work in the mix so that we don't have to rely on it so heavily in the master. Yeah, that sounds like it's a little bit more tucked in nicely. We'll tuck this guy down a little bit better as well. Yeah, Signature was saying, yeah, uses for live work. That's what I imagine a lot of this, what Mars is describing, sounds like. Okay, wow. So now we're at minus 6.42 as our max peak. Let's let this ride out a little bit, and then we're gonna get back into the master. We're gonna raise it back up to 0, but now instead of raising it by 4 point something decibels, we're gonna raise it by 6.4 decibels. So we're going to be starting at a higher place before we need to be pushing it into the limiter to reach our max LUFS, which is hopefully going to help us get a cleaner result, right? But yeah, Mars, you really should start looking into Max for Live. It sounds like you probably would be able to build a lot of what you're describing using Max for Live. Alright, minus 6.38 looks like our max peak level. we're going to just start with a fresh ozone, and we're going to run it and hope that it doesn't do such crazy shit with the EQ, but we'll probably just get rid of the EQ anyways and do our own thing with it. Let's run it over here. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, it's doing some bullshit. Loudness warning. Good God. That's crazy. You need to get your shit figured out, man. And then this is like some fucking wonky ass chaos. Let's fix all this and then we'll decide what we're doing. Okay. I think that we do want a little bit of a lip here. Basically clamping on this. Why is it showing us so quiet here? It's like not even touching the limiter. That's crazy. Oh, it's because we never lifted. Okay. Let's turn that off. Let's figure out what our max peak volume is. I realized why it's sitting so quietly. Okay, so it's looking like our max peak so far is like minus 6.85. Let's see if that changes. Minus 6.32. All right, let's send it up by 6.32 decibels. Let's send it up. So we're going to say 6.32. Boom. Okay, so now it's a lot louder. And now we can run ozone on this. And let's try it one more time. I think I'm actually going to run it over in this section. Yeah, let's just run it over here. All right. Let's do it. Loudness warning. This might jump up. Yeah, way fucky. Way fucky. Yeah, this is silly. Why is it mangling the EQ? I don't know. All right. I think basically we can have this little shelf here. down like this, and we give it like a little. Okay, we're getting closer. Yeah, we're gonna need to adjust this quite a bit. Take an EQ to the snare. Gonna kind of scoop out some of the pain parts. Dude, we're so in the money here. Let's let's run it from the beginning and get an accurate reading of our LUFS and just kind of adjust from there. But I feel like we're squaring this away a lot more nicely. And then we need to just do the TapDaddyBeats tag and probably start bouncing versions. But we need a good name for this track. I think I might name it something like Foot Soldier or something. I don't know, it feels like a pretty militant kind of sounding track. Yeah, you had one like this before a while back. Everything was perfect, but one instrument annoying. Yo, I get you on that signature. It's like some of these are finicky. It's like the idea's there, but it goes to show that like your mix can only be as good as your production. You know? If you just like have a track that's, you know, fighting everything. For this one, it seems to be like that low end and that snare are just like cutting it, you know? I feel like this is a drastic improvement though to what we had beforehand. Some crunch on that low end, but I kind of like how it's crunching. You know, that bass just like, you know. I'm not sure how much more I want to push it. I might be happy with minus 10.9. Doesn't have to be at minus 10.5 on everything, right? But I think in the spirit of that, like, yeah, we might make some small adjustments. Like, we might just bring back the drums as a whole, like 1 decibel. Yeah, Signature's like, don't worry, I've had the same. I feel you. It is what it is. Sometimes what I'll do is if I feel like I'm having an issue with this guy pushing ozone too much, is I'll just like feed it 1 decibel higher into the limiter and just kind of see what I can get away with. It's getting a little bit too much. Yeah, it's not handling that extra loudness well. What we could do... Oh, wait a minute. We've got this set at 0 again. Why is this set at 0? We had it set at... Oh, yeah, it's because we have this set to 6.32. Okay, so my thinking was right here. I think, though, we might do something like this, where on the other side of this, let's set both of these to true peak. And we're going to have this guy going a little bit higher after the ozone. So that way we can back off on this a little bit extra. Out since it's like so overwhelming, right? It feels cassette sampled. Yo, and Gene, that's exactly why I like the feel of like that amp on the drums. Is it feels very like a very dirty like cassette sample, right? It's cool. Yeah. Army Swiss knife track spacer. I don't think I've used track spacer. Not sure I'm familiar. This one, I think we're gonna settle for like a -11 something. And that's fine. I don't need every track to be exactly -10.5, you know? At the end of the day, we need to do what's gonna make for the best track, right? Alright, so -11.2, hell yeah. Let's add in the TapDaddyBeats tag and figure out where that's going. So that's going to be probably somewhere over here. Like TapDaddyBeats. Yeah. So let's pull out the TapDaddyBeats tag. And I'll dress it in all fancy like I do. So it's going to be somewhere over here. Let me turn my volume back up on my mic. There we are, since we're working at such a loudness right now. All right. TapDaddy. And of course, that doesn't sound good. We've got it unwarped. That's good. Now let's just chop it down to really fit the space. Put that there. Shorten this guy. We need him to come back a decent amount. Daddy Beats. And we can't chop the D. We just need to get this a little bit extra, like backed up here. This one's kind of weird. There's like a t, you know. So it actually needs to come back farther than it looks. About here. TapDaddyBeats. Yeah, that's a good, you know, sign. Yeah. Oh, for the bass. Yeah, June was saying it feels cassette sampled. And that's exactly what this Oxide tape processor is doing. You know, I love two things about this. I love the richness that it gives in the bass. And Gene, I think you're hearing exactly like why I like this plugin. You know, as it kind of gives this like very like almost unhinged sort of feel to the bass. It also kind of like makes the rest of the space feel a little bit more vibrant, just with the type of saturation that's going on in this, you know, in this tape emulation and, you know, compression as well as going on there. So we get a little bit of more vibrance. But I love how the amount of richness that this generates in low-end instruments like basses. TapDaddyBeats. Okay, this is sounding silly. Let's turn it down. TapDaddyBeats. How is this warped? This shouldn't be warped. Yeah, no, it's normal. Let's just pull out vinyl. We're just going to do a little bit of vinyl processing before we feed it into the rest of our chain. TapDaddyBeats. Okay, sounding pretty good. Now we're gonna pull out a little bit of compression. TapDaddyBeats. 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 It's just a little bit more full this way. And then we're gonna do probably vocal control. This is a type of OTT. It's a setting using Ableton stock OTT. TapDaddyBeats. That's so warped. So warped of you. Nah, it's completely unwarped now. Should be fine. TapDaddyBeats. Sounds good. Now we just need TapDaddyBeats. 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 Somewhere around 35% range. TapDaddyBeats. And then we're gonna delay. out the beats. Let's see, we're probably gonna do it like this. TapDaddyBeats. Turn down the dry wet and the feedback a little bit. Okay, that's sounding better. Now we need just like a little splash of reverb. Like a little splash, maybe like 20%-ish. Oh yeah, here we go. That's what's making it sound magical. We're gonna dial it back a little bit to like 15%. TapDaddy eats. You know, you're not wrong. Okay, now we gotta figure out where we're dropping this next. Probably in this bridge section. I like dropping tags in bridge sections because it's not like they can replace it with another part of the track. It's just kind of like arrangement-wise, it kind of stops them in their tracks from just like cutting out the parts of the track that has a tag. So hell yeah, sounds good, thank you. Song title, Master and Loves. That's not bad. I think right now I'm leaning towards Foot Soldier, might be the name of this one. But I encourage you guys to top that. Alright, let me start getting a folder sorted for this guy. I gotta like go into my beat storage. Here, I'll even just show you guys what I'm working with here. Beat storage. This is song 1055. Song 1155. Oh shit, I noticed. Damn, I noticed my battery was almost dead. And I realized my computer was slightly unplugged. Oh my gosh. Glad I caught that right then. We should probably do a save as, or a save. Yeah, mix v2. We'll listen through it while we save it. There we go. But yeah, I like to do song 1155. Oh, that sounds too loud. We need to change that. What happened there? Okay, but we're gonna call this Foot Soldier. And I like to do a folder that's just Foot Soldier prod TapDaddy, so they know who to hit up if I fuck something up in there. Yeah, Drunken Master Loves. There you go. And then we're gonna give them the BPM, 90 BPM. We're gonna say stems and track outs. There we go. And we're gonna say stems wet. And track outs dry. And then we wait for this to finally save. And we go fix our tag that is like super loud. Okay, it doesn't feel too loud there. We'll see where we're at with it. There we are. Alright, let's go back to that first tag. That felt like way too loud. Yeah, that's like way too much. Let's turn this way down. And one way that I double triple check my gain staging there is let's group our master chain here, And since we're feeling satisfied with this, we're going to go ahead and get rid of this guy so we don't confuse ourselves. Boom. Okay, I know it's so much quieter. Yeah, that sounds nice and balanced. Okay, turning that back on. Easy. Now let's check the loudness over here. Perfect, nice. All right, sweet. So now we can start bouncing versions of this. So I think, yeah, let's just go ahead and start getting some versions of this bounced. First thing I always do is a master tagged version, and I'll even show you guys. I kind of have a file naming system. Let's see. Let's export. We've got our master chain on. Perfect. We're going to say wave. I do MP3s when I'm bouncing demos, but waves when I'm doing the final export. And let's see, I need to bounce this to beat storage reserve. There we are. 1000 song 1055. So we're going to go down to 1055 Foot Soldier. We're going to call it Foot Soldier Prod TapDaddy. 90 BPM, so they always have that. And then I always use brackets when it's mastered, so that way I can always just see if it ends in a bracket or a parentheses and know if it's going to be a mastered or unmastered version. So I do bracket master tagged in bracket, and we'll bounce that. Boom. Easy. Hell yeah. There we go, and it bounces. Boom. Now we're going to turn the tag off, and we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to change it to master instead of master tagged. And of course, keeping the brackets still. There we are. Master. Boom. Easy. Easy. I wish I could get like a script or something to help bounce and organize my stems, but I feel like there's always some sort of corner case that pops up in that, like, oh, I used a return track to do this, that it's like kind of makes it hard to just automate this whole process, you know. But I don't know, maybe one day I'll design out a system to help me just like export my stems. That's something that I could probably do with Max for Live or something like that. I don't know. All right. Now, we're going to do the unmastered versions. We're going to turn this off. We turned back on our tag, and we're going to export it and say, oops, export audio. Perfect. And this is where we're going to turn over to parentheses. This way I can always just see by if it ends in a parenthesis or bracket, if it's mastered or unmastered. So parenthesis, we're going to say tagged non-profit. So that way people know if they just like receive this file, they'll see it tagged non-profit and they'll go, oh yeah, non-profit. I've got to buy the license. Cool, cool. Save, export, all that jazz. And while that's going on, let's maybe get in here and start setting this up. I always do one for the drums, like the one shots. So we're going to say drums wet in this one. Those are going to be the wet one shots, and then we're going to have drums dry over here. This is everything that you get when you buy like the stems from me. Is you get like both of these folders, and you're going to get like reference tracks, you know, of the tagged and untagged version. Sweet, we've got that. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to do the untagged for-profit version. So we turn that back off. We have our master chain off. Let's just run and do that real quick. Boom. Foot soldier. For profit, untagged, we'll say. There we are. Cool. But yeah, I see Mars says, I used to be a social butterfly, but now I've just seen rendered to parentheses. Yeah, I've just been rendered to parentheses. That's how my stems feel. Yeah. All right. Cool. Now we can actually start naming stuff and just start like exporting. So we're going to say TapDaddy tag. And I always put in parentheses here optional, just so that people know, like, I'm not going to get on their ass for excluding my tag, but also it's there if you like how the beat sounds with the tag. You know, I never know what people want. I have people ask me all the time, hey, I want to buy this license, but can I use the tagged version? I'm like, of course you can. Yeah, absolutely. I don't mind that. Okay, so then we've got drums up here. This is organ. Yeah, and I might readjust my mic volume here so we can turn our volume up collectively. Sorry. I know these mixing streams are always like, volume's up, volume's down. Like, it's really loud, it's really quiet. It's just part of the process here. Okay. So we're going to say organ. This guy is an electric piano. There we go. Mars says, what do women want? What do they want, damn it? They want spins 808s. No, I don't know. I don't know what women want. Electric piano. Then we're gonna say sax, guitar, okay, so we've got trumpet delays, and then we've got trumpet over here. We'll call this trumpet delay notes or something like that, and then we'll just call this one trumpet. And this one should be easy, bass, and we should also delete these plugins that we're not using. Bass, there we go. Okay, we'll call this reverse vibraphone. This guy is bendy synth. We'll just call this guy bendy synth. There we are. What is this guy? Oh yeah, this is just like a little synth lead. It doesn't do a whole lot. What is this one again? Yeah, this is like filtered sample. I'm not quite sure because this is like a lot of things all put together. What was this? Vintage tape sampler, vibraphone, brass chords. Okay. I'm just gonna call this filtered vibraphone. There we go. Polarity, a lot of it? What do you mean by that? Oh, this is like a flute? Okay, we'll just call this like... We'll call this like flute arp, because I think that we have some other flutes over here. We'll call this guy flute bend. We'll call this like, what do we want to call this guy? Flute ethereal. And this guy is a different trumpet, so we're going to have to call this guy trumpet 2 and that other guy trumpet 1. Trumpet 2. And then that makes this guy up here trumpet 1. Okay. There we go. No half stepping. Yes, I concur. Oh, man. Okay, and then I think that's everything. Do we have anything fed to return tracks? Let's just look through and see. No, we don't have to worry about return tracks on this project. But yeah. Mars says, every time I hear the word polarity, I think of magnetic lines of flux. Well, you know what? That sounds relevant to the term polarity. Magnets. All right. Do we have everything named and titled? Perfect. Let's just export these guys. I know I'm staying a little bit later today just to export this because I have like other stuff I also have to export tonight, and I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. We'll do it live. We'll do it live. All right. And yes, this is all good. Include return tracks. Yeah. Okay. And then we're going to say, we're just going to call this FS wet. FS wet. There we are. But yeah, signature says that's what the world is in a state of flux. You know what? I can't disagree with that, man. I should have just named this track Polarity. That's a good track name that I don't think I've used yet. I'm just going to write that down in my phone because why not? Polarity could be a good name. This one, we're already bouncing stuff as Foot Soldier, so we'll just call this one Foot Soldier, but I'm going to put Polarity down in my phone. That's actually pretty good. Boom. All right. Oh my gosh, it takes forever to export, all of these tracks with all of the plugins turned on. But yeah, man, I was just thinking, like, I was talking to you guys earlier about how, Spotify announced that they're not going to be pushing AI music in their algorithms anymore, right? Dude, that news just so happens to coincide with about the time that I'm going to be increasing my ad spend. So what I'm really hoping for, and this is like, I don't know, planets aligning, perfect situation for greatness, right? Is like, I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot more room for just like radio play, algorithmic play for just normal artists like me and you guys, And on top of that, I'm going to be making it a much bigger push on my music. So hopefully I'm going to be able to absolutely explode with like algorithmic traffic. But we're going to see, man. I'm super excited for September. I'm dropping an album, Nothing Is Real. And we're going to be pushing that one heavy in the ads. But also, Spotify is supposedly banishing all AI personas from their algorithms and stuff, which should free up a lot of space for just artists, and their music. So I don't know, man. I'm like really stoked. I'm like, I feel giddy. I'm like, oh my gosh, there might be a lot of great stuff coming my way. A lot of traffic on Spotify. I hope that'd be amazing. That'd be so good. It's the perfect storm of stuff. Let's see. Okay, so we've got that all bounced. Now I like to jump over to drums, and I do the dry version of the drums, then the wet version of the drums. Oops. No, we're not going to bounce that out. Wait. There we go. We're going to actually add audio tracks. Let's see how many audio tracks we need. We just need to see how many one-shots we have in here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 2 snares, a kick, a closed hi-hat, and an open hi-hat. Or, no, that's a tambourine. Okay, so let's start naming those. We've got kick, snare 1, snare 2, open hi-hat, tambourine. I'm just going to go ahead and name these. I don't know why I'm outside of full screen. We're going to go kick, snare 1, snare 2, all that good jazz. Hi-hat, CL, and then tambourine. There we go. All right. And then we're going to say, okay, everything, take audio from drums in, and then group all of this. And our drums are -20, so we're going to set this to -20. All right. And now we got to sort this out. Snare 1, snare 2, this is our closed hi-hat, and then we got our tambourine. Okay, so dry, this is what this should sound like. Okay. But let's see if we've got anything on these individual notes. Like I see we've got this EQ here. Okay, I think it was just that EQ. Okay, cool. So this is all of our one-shots of dry. Let's just export these into our dry folder of drums. Export. And dry drums FS dry. There we are. Easy. Boom. Oh, man. Flying through it. I'm going to get this one done, and then later tonight I'm going to bounce another set of stems. I'm going to make artwork for both of these, and I'm going to be hopefully 2 weeks ahead of my BeatStars. We'll see. I've been trying to free up more time because, man, working at this dispensary definitely has taken up more of my time than I thought it was going to. When I applied for a job there, I was looking for like 20 to 25 hours per week, and I showed, which days I couldn't work, and they booked me for every single day that I explicitly didn't say that I wasn't available, right? So they got me working 35 hours instead of like the 25 hours that I thought I was going to be working. So I'm scrambling, but I'm making it work, and it's nice though, because I am making more money than I thought I was going to from just like a part-time job, right? Who did your tag? Oh yeah, that's my homie 1L1L. So you guys may or may not know this, but for like 5 years I hosted rap ciphers on Twitch and whatnot. And yeah, 1L1L is just like a sick MC that came through on one cipher like many years ago. It was like when I was starting out my cipher scene. And yeah, that TapDaddyBeats, that was just like a little ad lib at the front of one of his submissions for our ciphers, right? And I just thought that was so slick sounding. I was like, dude, can I please use it as my producer tag? Like, I told him, I'll give you any beat that you want exclusively. Like, I'll give you 3 exclusives if you want, just like, please let me use that as my tag. He was like, oh, you don't even have to stress it. Just have it, man. So I was like, okay, man, he sent it to me, and I was like, bet, thank you so much. And if you ever need any beats or anything, you just let me know. And since then, we've actually done a couple of collabs together. I produced one of his EPs called In Case of Emergency, which I think is totally worth checking out if you're interested in hearing the guy that did the tag. If you're interested in hearing him rhyme my beats, definitely go listen to the In Case of Emergency EP by 1L1L. It's so fucking beautiful. I don't know, man. That dude can rhyme. He's good. Like, it's awesome. Yeah, shout out to 1L1L. All right, so we got our drums. Let me just triple check that we got it in our folder here. Ooh. Boom, boom. Yes, we got it all. Cool. Yeah, that's all good. Okay, now we got to turn everything back on for the drums. Or wait, no, we gotta turn everything. So yeah, we need to do the wet drums now. So basically what that means is we need to turn this guy back on, this little EQ, and then we need to take our chain here and apply it to the group that we have created up here. Boom. So now let's make sure that this is a 1-to-1. Yeah, this is 1-to-1. There we go. Yeah, dude, very cool. I mean, I feel like a lot of people struggle for their, producer tag, and I feel like a brilliant one landed in my lap just from hosting ciphers, Oh, that was Signature asking that. I'm sorry if I read that as Mars. I'm like, stream is flying by. I need to get new glasses is what it is. Dude, I might be getting new lenses for my glasses soon. Hopefully the Fort Collins Music Association might pay for my glasses. I saw something that they are doing like free vision care for local artists through the Fort Collins the Fort Collins Music Association. I'm gonna see if maybe I could get some lenses, because these are all like scratched up, man. And I haven't been able to afford vision in a little while. So I'm like, that would be so nice if I could get some lenses, please. Save me. I don't know, I gotta look into it more, but I think I'm definitely signing up for whatever free vision care they can offer. All right. So now we're looking for our wet drums. We can just highlight all of these, send that off. Boom, boom. There we are. Export audio. And we're gonna send this to the wet folder. Wet. We'll call that wet. There we are. Cool. Oh, man. Oh, big stretches. All right, man. We're getting down there. Almost got this fully exported. I feel like stemming is the bane of my existence, man. I make so much music and then I spend so much time mixing it down. Before I know it, I'm like shocked when I have a giant pile of things that I have to export, you know? But yeah, Mars says I had to drive through Winter Park during a blizzard once. Oh, right on, man. I've got a homie that grew up in Winter Park. I don't know if you know, there's a town near Winter Park, like this small mountain town that is like where my homie grew up and went to school as a kid. And that town famously, there was like this guy that went crazy and like turned a I forget whatchamacallit, like, you know, like one of those bobcats, those like tractor machines that just have the shovel on the front. He fortified one of those into a tank and like started destroying buildings. And it was a huge thing on the news. There's even a documentary about it on Netflix about this guy that like welded himself into this homemade tank and like wreaked havoc on the town. Yeah, he says, yeah, I drove from Winter Park to Steamboat Springs. Yeah, I forget the name of the place near there. It might be Steamboat Springs. But yeah, wild, dude. There's a documentary on it. And I guess my homie was a teenager in that town when that happened. And like basically school got canceled because this guy was like terrorizing the town in a homemade tank. And yeah, and he was literally like he was in high school when that was happening. And he was telling me that like school got canceled and they were on national news and like all of this. Yeah, there was a movie about that. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly the town where my friend grew up in. And it's like right around Winter Park. It's fucking crazy, dude. People are bizarre. People are crazy, man. All right, now we're going to turn all of this off, actually, because I believe we got that exported, right? Yes. We got the wet and the dry drums. Perfect. So now we're going to turn all of that off, including this little EQ on the snare. We're going to turn all of this off, the compression and the EQing on the organ. We're going to turn this guy off, the compression on the electric piano. For this guy, I think we might leave on the delays, but we're going to turn off the reverbs. Actually, no, we're going to, no, we're going to leave this on because this is changing how it sounds, right? This reverb, though, I want to give them the option to choose a different reverb, but it needs to be delayed out like that for it to be functional. Let's see, and then this guitar, we're gonna get rid of the EQ, the compression, the vocal pawpaw, but we are gonna leave on this delay. And maybe we'll turn off that swap there. We don't need to have it swapped. They can decide for themselves where to place it. This trumpet. And then we made this super atmospheric with like this reverb and this delay, but we're going to turn these off just to give them the clean cut of what this was. But yeah, Mars says Nebraska is hell. What makes you say that? Are you you're not living in Nebraska, right? I thought you're from Texas. Is it? I don't know. What do you mean though? Nebraska is hell. I mean, I agree, but like, what do you mean by that? Okay, we're gonna turn off the Ampeg. We'll leave the delay on because that's a very important part of what this instrument is. But okay, the bass, we're gonna turn off the limiting. About over here. Nope, don't need to do anything there. Don't need to do anything there. We'll get rid of this compressor, but we'll leave the filter on. That has to do with what it sounds like. But yeah, he says I drove through it. Oh, I'm sorry. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemies. I'm sorry that happened to you. Okay, we got this guy. We'll take off the super plate for that. Okay, this guy, we're going to get rid of this delay since we didn't use it. We're going to turn off the compression and the reverb. And for the tag, we're going to leave the delay on. We're going to take off the reverb, the compression. Vinyl filter, I'm going to leave on. They can dress that up how they want. Yeah, it's just the most bland country you'll ever see. Just flat. Yeah. No doubt, man. I can't name a single person that's like, oh boy, Nebraska, I can't wait to go. No. All my homies hate Nebraska. No, I'm kidding. All right, and then we're going to take all of this. This is the last thing that we've got to export, guys. We're almost there. That only took us 30 extra minutes, and that puts me a lot further ahead for tonight. Okay, so we're going to say foot soldier dry. There we are. Save. Awesome. Guys, we did it. Holy shit, guys. Oh, man, we did some good work here. We did one full mix, and then we did a V2 and stemmed, which is like, man, really putting us pretty far ahead. So, damn. Also, I should just tell you guys, I guess Monday, it will officially have been 6 years since I created this channel right here that we are watching. That is kind of insane. I don't know. I definitely bought a little nice bottle of whiskey to toast for a 6 years of running TapDaddyBeats. That's insane. So, anyways, goddamn. Thank you guys so much for 6 years of this. Oh, man. That's crazy. It's crazy. I feel like a lot has changed in these last 6 years, but it's all been cataloged on this channel, you know? Happy anniversary. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I appreciate all of you guys for, you know, being around for 6 years. Well, or at least being around currently, because, yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be around, you know, if I didn't have audience around here. I really appreciate it. So thank you guys so much. I think we're going to call it there. My name is TapDaddy, and until next time, happy producing. Thank you, all of you guys, for hanging out. Thank you, Mars, Gene, Signature. I believe Chocolate popped in. Everybody that's been lurking as well. I appreciate lurkers as well. Thank you guys so much for just watching me cook. And yeah, I will see you guys on Saturday for a Saturday morning cook-up. So yeah, until then, happy producing. I'll see you guys later, and thank you guys so much again for 6 years. Appreciate all of you guys. Peace out.